Thank you very much. And now I'd like to hand over to Brian Robinson, who's you're the chair of Ben Africa.
President of Ben Africa.
President, I beg your pardon. The president of the Business Ethics Network of Africa. So over to you, Brian. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I saw a comment about wishing us a delicious session today. So I certainly hope it's going to be delicious for all of you and an engaging session. And really, we would love to hear your comments and questions on the Q&A. So just firstly, just to say thank you very much to Carolyn and the Good Governance Academy for partnering with Ben Africa for the series of webinars. And just a quick introduction on Ben Africa. Some of you might not know the organization. It's the Business Ethics Network of Africa. And it was established in 1999 by a group of academics who wanted to bridge the gap between academia, the business community, civil society, the public sector, and various other stakeholders in the business ethics space. And really at the heart of Ben Africa is just bringing together people who share a passion for business ethics on the African continent. We have various activities in order to achieve this. We're a network of people, so there's this engagement between people. We share a lot of information on business ethics events, etc. We also disseminate research on business ethics. So we've got our own journal called the African Journal of Business Ethics, as well as we publish conference proceedings. We have an annual award that we call the Order of the Baobab, where we recognize people who have made a fundamental difference to business ethics on the continent. We've awarded the likes of Professor Mervyn King from Good Governance Academy and the likes of Professor Tuli Madonsela and numerous others. And then we have various webinars and seminars and conferences to actually bring this conversation together. Our conferences are our flagship. It's our flagship activity, and we've had 24 conferences to date. And I know that we've got so many countries here today, and many of you would be from some of the countries that we've been in before. We've been in 19 different cities, and had our conferences in 13 African countries, which is quite phenomenal for any organization. This year, our conference will be in Mauritius. It's the first time that we're going to host a conference in an island state. And I'd really like to welcome you. We've still got space, four more delegates at the conference, and you can still submit papers or abstracts for the conference. And we're not just academic, we welcome business practitioners, thought pieces, papers, etc. as well. And come on, you can't lose out on a lovely opportunity to go to Mauritius. Suraj is from Middlesex University in Mauritius, and he says the weather's looking great and it's getting better. So you've got to join us. To find out more information, our website is www.benafrica.org. So pop in there and have a look at what it's about. So the theme for this year's conference, and it will lead into what we're going to be doing today, the theme of this year's conference was actually born out of ignorance, because we don't know the answer. We don't know where business ethics is going to be placed in this rapidly evolving change that we're experiencing when it comes to innovative technologies. Is business ethics going to be at the center of how these innovative technologies evolve, or is it going to be an afterthought? And how do we think of business ethics and the ethical ramifications of technologies that are so new, or technologies that don't even exist as yet. How do we think about it? It's mind-boggling. So we thought that this was the apt time to bring in this theme to address this just lack of knowledge on the topic, this ignorance, as I say. So this year's theme is innovative technologies, friend or foe. So it's going to be this debate between the two, and today we're going to have that debate as well. And it's a reflection on governance and ethics around innovative technologies. So we have partnered with the Good Governance Academy with some webinars as a sort of prelude to the conference. We had one in May. It was Innovative Technology for Purpose-Driven Organizations, where we brought together thought leaders to provide insights into leveraging these digital tools to ensure transparency, accountability, integrity, efficiency in organizations. And then in August, we had a webinar on innovative tech-enabled economic crime. And we explored, which is fascinating, we explored how AI, blockchain could either enable economic crime, or it can be a tool that we can use to prevent and reduce, mitigate economic crime. Today's webinar is a mirror of the conference theme. So it's innovative technology, friend or foe. And our panelists are from around Africa, from different African countries, and they will all be at the conference in Mauritius in November. But what's interesting is that they might be together on this panel, but at the conference they are on different panels. So what we're going to be doing today is to speak to those different panel themes and try and gain a bit of understanding of those particular themes, and to assess where there's cohesion between them all. So our first panel is the future of work, ethics and governance in a tech-driven economy. I grew up in the mining communities where jobs were very stable. You got into a position, you worked in that position your entire life, and things were settled. There wasn't disruption. And while in the past, if we look at the different industrial revolutions in the past, it was more a replacing of manual labor with machines. Things have changed when we look at the fourth, fifth, sixth, or whatever industrial revolution we're in, or where we're going. Things have fundamentally changed, where it's now our intellect that's been challenged, and been challenged by AI and other innovative technologies. As an academic, where do I fit into this future of work? So the way that we engage in terms of labor is changing fundamentally. And so we're very privileged to have Professor Mari Noel Nguyen from Côte d'Ivoire with us today. Mari holds a PhD in management from the IESE Business School and an MBA, currently professor, also consultant at MDE Business School. So Mari, with that bit of introduction, I'm really keen to know your perspective on how this tech-enabled economy impacts the world of work. So with that, I'm handing over to you, Mari.
Okay, so thank you, Brian. So good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm quite happy to see that there are so many people willing to discuss this very interesting topic. So I'm going to talk about my perspective, but the idea is to open debates and to discuss, because as Brian said, there is no answer right now. So I'm Mari Noel. So Brian tried to pronounce, so it's a French name. So I'm going to say it as we say it here. My name is Mari Noel. I'm from Côte d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast, but yeah, we prefer Côte d'Ivoire, that's Abidjan, Didier Drogba for the football players, those who like football. Okay. So yes, I hold a PhD from ESA Business School in Barcelona. I'm a leadership, ethics, and marketing professor at MDE Business School in Abidjan. And I've been working very closely as a consultant with many SMEs managers in sub-Saharan Africa, particularly in the food and beverage industry, and also in the cosmetic industry. My research interest kind of combines entrepreneurship in the context of emerging markets and innovating financing mechanism. So I had a small presentation. I don't know if Caroline wants to put it, just to explain. Okay, so Caroline, I will ask you to move from one slide to the other. Sorry about that. So the next slide is just to introduce the topic. Yeah, so my presentation is over. And the next again, difference between job and work. I thought these definitions will be kind of interesting, like to settle the foundation for our discussion. There is a clear distinction between job and work. I guess many of us know. Job is, in the context of the Harvard Business Review, they said that job is a specific paid role or occupation. While where we are talking about work, we are talking about a broader concept, which kind of encompasses any mental and physical activity performed to achieve a purpose or to express oneself. So we have influences. Next slide, please, Caroline. Yes. Thank you. Yeah. The next one is going to be the last. Yes, the share points. Yes. So my idea was like to settle some kind of fundamentals. So the first one is to say that the tech-driven industries or economy has some specific influences on job and on work. So we have influences at the job level and influences at the work level. So while job-related impacts are kind of more visible and I guess could have affordable solutions, influences on work are deeper and with less evident solutions. So the first job-related influence could be this kind of adult learning, because I'm working at MD Business School, which is kind of specialized in adult learning. Adult learning is nowadays compliance and safety driven, which is insufficient to meet the needs of upskilling of tech-enabled and fast-changing labor markets. We have also another influence at the job level, which is the prevalence of hybrid and flexible work models, which is good, of course, but at the same time is increasing the needs for reskilling. While because when you are working at home, you are not sharing experience with your colleagues at work. So the reskilling will be a bit difficult. And we have influences at the work level. There is an increasing number of mental health disorders in the workplace. I'm sure you have heard about many situations, and even in your own workplace. The tech-driven industry means fast-changing work environment with disengagement from emotions and a greater focus on productivity and efficiency. Brian called it disruption. Some will call it opportunities, but it's true that this is leading to work-related stress with, in many situations, no emotional support. And finally, from my point of view, and for this platform, for this discussion, we have integration of the artificial intelligence in the workplace equation. And this is adding a new dimension of complexity and inadequation. It's increasing the necessity of training while decreasing at the same time the time for training. So for me, these are like the questions that we could discuss in this platform, in this panel. Let's talk, let's discuss, let's see what all of us can put to the equation to have a great discussion. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you very much, and thank you for correcting me on the pronunciation of your name. My apologies. I'm not sure that I will get that right in a hurry, but I'll certainly attempt to get it right by the time we see you in Mauritius. So our second panelist or panel at the conference is entitled "The Ghost in the Shell," and looks at humans' artificial intelligence in the face of technological innovation. Now, the title was not thanks to AI. It wasn't an AI-generated title through ChatGPT, but it was a brainchild of our Dr. Ugi Radulovic, who's on the Ben Africa Exco, and he's one of these philosophers. And I asked him to please try explain so I made some sense today what this title was all about. So he explained to me that the ghost in the shell actually comes from an old Japanese animated comic series where it was futuristic, where people would have like prostheses, cyber brains. So when humans would be constantly enhanced through technology and technological things that were put into the body. But the problem is that this opened up humans to cyber attacks. So cyber brain attacks, body attacks, etc. And it questioned how we regard ourselves. How do we, this whole concept of self, how does that fit within technology? And it went further in terms of exploring our responsibility towards technology. It's to explore our role in technology and with technology. So it's not just them and us. Technology is becoming entrenched in us, in ourself. And what happens when AI robots become self-aware? What happens in that case? So so extremely complex, and we're very fortunate to have Dr. Saraj Judo with us. He has a PhD in data governance, which is apt. He's from Middlesex University in Mauritius, which is our host university for the Ben Africa Conference, and I'm hoping he'll be able to shed some light between this complex discussion on this interface between technology and the human race. So I wonder if you can maybe just as an introduction, just explain how we can ensure data, which is your speciality, but also technology. How can we ensure that it remains trustworthy and not damaging to us as humankind and remains ethical? So with that, I'm going to hand over to you, Siraj.
Thank you, Brian, and thank you, Pan Africa and the Good Governance Academy. I'm from Mauritius, okay, as you said, and my research PhD topic was about data governance, but since some years I'm more focused upon AI, both at some kind of research level, but also in some kind of practice level, because I also work as a consultant in AI, and also had worked a lot with organizations such as UNESCO, OEDC, and so on, in terms of the trying to evaluate, the ethical level of AI implementation in mostly Southern Africa. Okay. Now, I'm very happy for this introduction, Brian, because you rightly pinpointed the kind of question which everyone is asking. When I'm talking about everyone, I'm talking about it's government who are asking those kinds of questions. We, in terms of academia, we are constantly trying to research more about this very important question about the kind of growth, especially about automated algorithms, I won't really just constrain myself to AI, okay, which is a kind of latest hype, okay. But automated algorithms started well before, let's say since around 10 years or so, and have evolved, but they also have the same kind of challenges for trustworthiness of use of data, but also for the ethical aspect. So when we talk about the ethical aspect, we are talking about, definitely the right and wrong. So ethics is always some kind of dilemma. And that's why I like this theme, when you are talking about whether it is a friend or foe. And this is really the dilemma which is happening for organizations, even for individuals also. Okay. So it's really about, are we sure we are going to use technology well, especially digital technology and so on? So this is a kind of debate, and hence the talks about, work, the talk about bias, the talk about human level intelligence of AI, and it goes on, and every day you hear something, some new development, especially by the big tech and in the world of AI especially, okay? Now, disruption is one thing which I would believe is inevitable. But would it be some kind of negative or positive disruption? So this is where I believe that everyone should be able to act. So by everyone should be able to act, I mean that we are aiming for some kind of positive disruption for the human society by use of automated algorithms. Okay. However, since some years, even the world of AI has been, has gone through some kind of extreme change and extreme adoption with the incoming of foundational models. Okay. So I don't know how many of you are a bit techie here, but just talking a bit about foundational models like, ChatGPT and LLMs and so on, but it would also include like, self-driving cars or agentic AI and so on. When we're talking about foundational models, we're talking about models who are pre-trained upon a huge amount of very often publicly available data. If you consider ChatGPT or Llama and so on, or Claude and so on, they are trained upon this huge, very huge amount of data. And this is where, the first thing which comes into mind is whether the data which has been used is correct or not. Okay, so this was a kind of first kind of debate like some years back. Okay, and this is where people started to talk about hallucinations of LLMs and foundational models and so on. But we must understand that normally, after the process of pre-training, to be able to use some kind of LLMs in some kind of specific context, let's say for an organization and so on, then you need to use a pre-trained model upon the organization's data. Okay. And then it generates a more focused and therefore also a safer kind of model. But the solution doesn't end here. After the kind of refined model, which we call a self-supervised model, has been developed, then we are going to have some kind of reward and through reinforcement learning kind of step, which is going to, whose aim is really to make the model more and more accurate, more and more safe, that is with less bias and therefore more usable, but also it's going to be able to learn more by itself. Okay. So having said this, that is, we are at this point where those foundational models are becoming more and more capable of self-learning, the current question now is how to try to control it, okay? Because the debate right now is whether we put safeguards upon the step where the pre-training is being done upon the large amount of publicly available data. So if this can be done, then there is a school of thought which is saying that there are risks about getting models which are not being overseen enough in terms of the downstream aspect. That is, whenever those pre-trained models are going to be used for a specific organization. Let me put it in some kind of, let's say, a bit more concrete, tangible context. Let's say there is an organization, let's say an insurance company, okay, or a bank, anything, okay. You can't use ChatGPT. You can't give your employees ChatGPT directly, because this would pose some kind of problem of data leak and so on if they are using ChatGPT and uploading your organization data online and so on. So you need to try to create some kind of private kind of LLM. This is what we are talking here. But you can use the foundational model of ChatGPT and then train it upon your own data in order to get your private LLM, right? Okay. So what do you do? So what can you do to ensure that you are still having some kind of foundational AI system which is trustworthy? Okay. Now, what is meant by trustworthiness? Okay, so trustworthiness is being explained as giving accurate and reliable responses, free from errors. But this really points out to having some kind of satisfactory level of data quality. Okay, nowadays there are, and Brian rightly said this, there are new ways of cybersecurity issues, which is really focused upon trying to attack AI systems. And it is mostly based upon changing the training data. So basically, attackers do not need to actually get access to the inner workings of an AI system, but they can just change the source data which an AI system is extracting data from, and therefore ensure that the AI system is at the end of the day producing some kind of incorrect result. Okay, so it is a vast field of work. Okay, and there is no simple answer. There should be some kind of combination of measures. Okay, so what would be those measures? Basically, organizations, like global organizations such as UNESCO and so on, have issued, for example, UNESCO have issued their RAM, okay, readiness assessment methodology for AI, okay. Similarly, there are other global organizations who have issued the same thing. But we have seen that there are common themes. One of the common themes is AI system should not harm. Okay, so there should be some kind of check and balances in terms of trying to ensure that those AI systems are still being able to to be under some kind of influence of some kind of human overseer. Okay, so those organizations, they point out to themes like technical robustness of systems, having into place data governance laws, processes, accountability measures, transparency measures, explainability of AI systems, and so on. So all those aspects now need to be integrated either into regulations or into policies by either, for example, I know the African Union is working upon one, but also I know most countries nowadays are working upon either creating regulations or policies. Now, again, this is a big debate about what is more effective, whether it is regulations, because if we translate it into laws, then there comes a point about who is going to enforce those laws and how. Okay. Whereas policies, they are more about guidelines, how organizations and individuals should be either developing or using AI systems. Okay. So at the end, so moving on, basically, after there is some kind of intervention at the government level, then in order to ensure that there is trustworthy and ethical use of data, but also about AI systems, then it scales down at some kind of business level. Okay, so at the business level, at the organizational level, there are aspects such as the data layer, which should be actually being taken care of. So when I'm talking about the data layer, I'm talking about making sure that we get data from some kind of authorized sources. What is known as a provenance of data is actually being controlled. We also need to try to control the model development part. Okay, so basically when we're talking about model development part, we are talking about the quality of the algorithms, the quality of the learning, ensuring fairness, ensuring there is minimum amount of bias possible. Because again, I go to many talks and so on, and one of the biggest fear is about bias in the data. But bias is itself some kind of subjective matter. Okay, it always exists, but it depends upon what kind of model we are trying to develop. Organizations need to look at the application layer, to ensure that, the AI is a model, but to use it, normally you should be using some web interface or some mobile app interface, and therefore through those interfaces, there can be security risk and so on. Okay. And at the end of the day, also, there is some kind of societal level kind of impact, which should be, let's say, gradually put into place. Okay, I just talk about the regulatory aspect, but even nowadays, people need to know. Everyone, I mean, at the grassroots level, there needs to have some kind of very good grasp about what is meant by AI. Okay, and that's why many countries are now putting into their school curriculum basic AI learning, and this is something extremely good. Okay, which would help the society, and the ripple effect would be it would help organizations being able to master the use of AI more correctly. So I would end up here because as Maria said, I would really love to have questions and thoughts. I see there are some thoughts from some people on the chat, but yeah, and continue this very passionate discussion for me. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you very much, Siraj. You've raised so many, so many different issues, and talking about privacy, abuse, the bias, and just how valuable AI can be. But there's this cautionary tale that also came through quite strongly. And if we've got time, perhaps we can go back to your discussion around policies and laws and societal impact, because I think that those are critical considerations. And how do we find that balance? Because laws tend to be a bit late when it comes to innovative technologies. So how can we find that? So thank you so much. And I would like to move on just to the third panel that we're going to touch upon, that at the Ben Africa conference, is entitled "Technocrats, Meta Barons, or a Modern Burning of Printing Presses, Situating AI and Power." And that's the word, power, in 2025. This theme was also crafted by Dr. Ugi. So also to ask him, now, what on earth are you trying to get across here? So he explained to me what meta barons, the concept of meta barons, are. So a meta baron the father would basically disfigure his son and replace a body part with some sort of machine or something technical to this body, and then at some stage they would have this fight, father and son, and the meta baron would be the one who survives. And so it's this bigger than life individual that's very patriarchal, and it's all about power. So if we start looking, and remember that term meta, if we look at the metaverse of Mark Zuckerberg, changing the name from Facebook to Meta, this visualization of virtual reality that we will live in. Who are the meta barons of the world going forward? How are we going to work with these meta barons with this enormous amount of power? Are we going to deal with this technology that is incredibly powerful, such as AI? And should there be possibly resistance to this incredible power? Should it be held within individuals? So we're very fortunate to have Professor Kimi Ogunyemi joining us. She's just got off the plane. She's at Addis Ababa at the moment. So Kimi, you're a star for making the effort to join us in those difficult situations. And I'd like to ask you, how these emerging technologies influence intelligence and power today and going into the future. Thank you, Kimi.
Thank you, Brian.
And sorry, I forgot to just mention, Kimi is teaches business ethics, managerial anthropology, and sustainability management at the Lagos Business School in Nigeria. Thank you, Kimi. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much. So I think that introduction is enough already. So that's what I teach, and that's also what I research and consult in. So to your question, I think the key thing to understand is that we're all probably a mix of meta barons, technocrats, and the people who are afraid, which would be the ones that used to burn the printing press. So I think that there is nobody that is at the extreme among the people that we meet in the world around us. But at the same time, there is perhaps a genuine fear that there are extreme people that are the extreme. So yeah, Brian tried to already explain more or less what the meta baron would look like. So the technocrats would be the people who are actually shaping the future with the innovation. And they are so excited with the world of tech, the world of AI. And therefore they are gung-ho going for whatever is next, whatever we can do. Like, there is no limit to what the power that we can actually wield through this opportunities that are coming up constantly in the tech world. And I think Suraj has also touched on that quite a bit. And at the same time, the technocrats, what's most important to them is the tech itself, not the power that they get through the tech. Enter the meta barons. The meta barons are the ones who are seeing the opportunities to wield power and sometimes to earn money through dominating the platforms. So they leverage social media, they leverage the online platforms. They're actually shaping the public discourse around the whole themes. So with a lot of the influence they have, they can do a lot of good or they can do a lot of harm. So that's why they can then inspire fear in those of us who are a little bit wary of people having so much power or having so much impact in everything that is going on in the world. Because, I mean, things have changed so much that, as Suraj was mentioning, we have to carry people along. As Marie-Noel was also mentioning, there's a lot of impact in workplaces. So the people who are being referred to as the people who would have burned the printing press, which we all probably have a little bit of that in us, because what we're familiar with, we're okay, then we hear of something else, and then we go somewhere else, we hear of something else. I remember the first time I went to a Zoom meeting and found the AI taking notes, like, what is going on here? It's bad enough they're recording. Now there are like 3 AI assistants taking notes of everything we're saying. Where is it going? What is going on here? So it can be a bit alarming because we actually don't know the extent of what we're entering into. So there used to be a reference to people who are afraid as Luddites, like people who are resistant to change. Don't you want to follow the trend? Don't you want to be at the forefront of the tech revolution? But there is a reason why people resist. And the reason why people resist has already been referred to by the 2 other panelists, which is, with great power comes great responsibility. So we are genuinely concerned sometimes about how that power is going to be wielded, about the ethics of the people behind the scenes who have the power to influence all of us. And also because people realize that there's a human cost to innovation. You know, there was a time when we were all so excited, you know, the world is developing, some countries are more developed than others, and it's a reality. But now, in more recent times, with all the drive for sustainability, we're seeing that a lot of things that were done to get to that development have side effects that are affecting all of us globally. And then we start questioning, okay, how developed was the development? I don't know when I'm communicating. Okay, we were developing, but now we're coping with the issues. So there's a similar fear now that, yes, this is tech, yes, it's taking us far, yes, AI can do things that we couldn't imagine, but where are we going? Where are we going with all this? So we definitely need to look into these questions, and I'm glad that the conference has this panel. I'm glad that there's so many people as well on this call. You can't even see me. I don't know whether to blame that on the tech or the AI or on where I'm sitting in the airport, because I don't want to move from here because I don't know what's ahead. I don't know whether the internet will still work if I leave the spot. I don't know whether there will be more quiet than I have here. It's not so quiet, but at least I'm communicating right now. So tech is always such a game of, let's see what happens. We're all following in. At the same time, it's fantastic because here we are having this wonderful webinar. We're able to talk, we're able to discuss across countries, we're able to touch on topics with people that we would not have met if the whole world had remained physical. So we can see the great possibilities always that tech has for us, but we can also see the danger. And then there are the meta-barons who are wielding the power behind all this. And people are wondering, sometimes we start wondering who owns all the data that is being captured constantly in all the websites that we log into. You know, when I was logging in with the Wi-Fi of the airport, I got a warning, do you want to proceed? People are seeing you. I'm like, who is seeing me? I don't know whether to go on or to go back, or I need to join this panel and then they ask, do you accept the terms? Of course, I accepted the terms. I don't even have time to wait to read any terms in general, much less when I'm in the airport trying to join a webinar to speak. So I accept all the terms. I don't know what they are. I'm here speaking. I don't know who is listening because they want me. I can't say they didn't want me. So it's a maze, like it's a minefield, but we're all working there courageously, knowing that at the same time, it's people like us, the technocrats who are developing this and trusting in their goodwill knowing that there are people who are seeing more opportunities than maybe we see and gaining in power as we speak. At the same time, trusting in their goodwill, trusting that they are going to take into consideration the common good of all of us as they develop and as they make their own impact on the world. So there's a lot going on there. So for ethicists, for people who are really keen on business ethics, we'll be really concerned about how to balance that innovation and responsibility, how to understand the influence of the meta barons and the tech giants, to see how they can handle the power dynamics in that space and handle it with responsibility. How people in the tech space, the people who are the technocrats, can be more human-centered in their design. I mean, not just going for efficiency or not just going for the profit that can be made, but keeping the designs human-centered, always considering the stakeholders, everybody that is being affected by what they're doing. And at the same time, thinking about how all of us can upskill ourselves as the other two speakers have also made reference to, how can we make sure that everybody is carried along so that we're developing in an inclusive way and we're not leaving whole communities behind or whole generations behind. You know, the older generation is there. Recently, some people that I know started doing seminars to help elderly people understand how to use Instagram, how to get online. And it was interesting when I saw their flyer, and it's totally free, but it's something that we probably can all do in small ways. See, who can I carry along? Who can I help? Of course, the government should do something. Of course, NGOs should do something. But maybe there is that person in our families who is not understanding how to use WhatsApp or what it means to use a phone that is up to the digital level that we are at now. And we can spare some moments to talk to them, to be patient with the fumbling. Because I know sometimes I have fumbled also with all kinds of gadgets. You know, we can also be part of that, making sure that we carry people along. And overall, we all have to be more and more critical in the way we reflect in what's going on, so that when we see that things are not properly done, we can speak out, we can speak up. So let's not look at the tech or only as what we can get from it for ourselves, but let's look at how it's impacting society, and let's use tech to also make society better in a way. So maybe what I'm saying is, let's not get lost in watching TikToks, you know, 3 minutes. I know we probably don't, you know, I'm assuming a lot here, but we all have the kind of things that have attracted us in the tech world. Let's not just look into, oh, this, I like it, this helps me, but to also say, are there some things that are harmful here? You know, let's just be a bit more critical, and then post on LinkedIn, on whichever place we're comfortable in, start small discussions so that we're all more alert and we're all more aware of what's going on around us. I think I'll stop there for now, if that's fine.
Thank you very much, Kimmy, and you can stay exactly where you are.
Okay.
It's your message is coming through absolutely
Thank you.
clearly. We can visualize what you are saying, and you defined the concept so incredibly well. You know, did a lot better job on meta barons than I did, and the technocrats. And what I really liked what you said is that, you know, there needs to be a level of trust in the goodwill, and hopefully there'll be enough goodwill to balance you know, the potential negatives of these meta barons per se. So a lot that you covered in that discussion, and really good food for thought.
Thank you.
What I would like to I see that there are one or two comments and questions in the chat, and one is a question that I'd maybe like to just touch on, and this is from Philip van Skalkwyk, who poses a question of using AI in Namibia. And if I understand your question correctly, Philip, it's basically saying that you put in these queries, these AI queries, onto whatever platform, and the information that comes back is not relevant, or it's completely wrong, you say. So the question, and I think that this is what's interesting about what you posed, is this a common problem experienced by users in Africa? And I would assume that it's a result of the availability of information on the web that the AI can use. Does it mean that we in Africa should not rely on AI at all? And Dr. Suraj, maybe I can direct this question as you at you, because you were talking about the source of data, and that there's this mass of information out there. How do we ensure that we use accurate data or information to get accurate feedback that we can apply? Dr. Suraj?
Yeah. Thank you, Brian, and thank you for this question from Namibia. And I can really relate to it, okay, because in Mauritius itself, I was connected with some kind of similar development, okay, of some kind of intelligent chatbot, okay. So to answer the question whether it is something which is common in Africa, no, I won't be able to. I don't have this kind of knowledge about what is common in Africa, but no, I can no, it's something which is known. Okay, basically, it's not something which is so rare. The whole idea here is that these are systems which are not like fully built so far. Like I was trying to explain the technical aspects there is this. So basically, when you have some kind of chatbot at this level, then it is not fully trained. It needs to be further trained, and after the further training, then it would be able to ward off those kinds of silly answers and so on. This is a kind of reward model. Let's say, someone is asking a question, okay, about, where is a passport office in Namibia? And then you get one address, which is coming from an old website, and another address, which is coming from a newer and correct address. So the chatbot is going to take both initially, but after some training, and the reward model should be able to give more weight to the correct answer. So this is where this is lacking right now. Okay, so it's not a problem of the technology itself. It's not a problem of really about data bias and so on. It's just a problem about the development of the system, for me, was not fully functional so far.
Great, excellent. So, Dr. Suraj, you basically suggesting to Philip that he needs to be a bit more patient, and hopefully with time, AI will adapt and learn and come up with the correct answers. Excellent. Thank you so much for that. I am very cognizant of time. We need to close at 1 o'clock. But there was a comment linked to a question which I would like to pose, I think, to Prof. Maury Noel and to Prof. Kimi. And maybe you could use this as a sort of concluding, and use it as almost as a bit of a concluding statement. And then I'll also give Dr. Suraj an opportunity to give his final thoughts as well. So this is from Dowd, Steve, sorry, I can't see the full name there. The statement is as follows: I've come to understand that it is important to trust in the ethical sense of human beings in the face of this evolution. In a global context strongly driven by the pursuit of profit, sometimes at the expense of certain values, what are the main risks that such a dynamic could create? So I think, Prof. Maury, if I can give the floor to you to give your insights on this and a concluding word or two, please.
Yeah, so thank you for the question. I think the question is kind of a summary of what we have been saying, and it's like food for thought. So where are we going? What are the main risks? So as I mentioned at the beginning, the risks are diverse. But then let's look at our own work. And work, we have been differentiating jobs and work. So jobs are changing, fast changing, environments are changing, but the work in itself, which is like creating the conditions for us to be happier. That word is important. When we are talking about ethics, we are talking about happiness. So what do we have in our fast-moving, technology-driven world, which is kind of reducing or increasing our happiness? So the risk will be there. So for job, we can see that jobs are changing and we are not coping with this change. For work, it's more like we are less happier at work. We are suffering at work. So it should be like pinpoint ideas just to begin thinking, what can we do to improve the work environment while using all these, I will call them opportunities, because disruption, yes, positive disruptions, yes. Opportunities, we can go back. Sometimes I heard some comments like, maybe we should go back to when we didn't have, I don't know, we didn't have WhatsApp and we didn't have Facebook and we didn't have whatever. All these things which are like stressing and making life going too fast for the human being. But we can go back. So what should we do? And as all the panelists were saying, we need to put on more critical comments, critical thoughts. We need to be more critical of what we are doing, even at work. I mean, we, for example, at my work, sometimes we are like, maybe we should use artificial intelligence to do things faster. And I'm like, yes, we could, but what will it mean to us human beings using that? We are shutting our brains and we are using something else, or we could be using our brains while enhancing the capacity of that brain, if it's possible. So reflections, yes, it's important. We should be, as a closing remark, I will say that we shouldn't be suffering from the conditions that we have been creating. We should be looking for solutions to improve the conditions that we have. And there is a lot of suffering going on. Mental health is an issue. We have seen people are kind of thinking about putting psychologists in the workplace. It's not bad, but is it the solution? Shouldn't we be doing things differently? Shouldn't we be thinking about happiness, but in a very integrative way, where we look at how we are working, what we are using for work, and what we are kind of expecting of the workers? So thank you. Thinking, let's think. And let's go to Mauritius and enjoy the weather and have great discussions.
And we're going to have some incredible discussions, but absolutely we can't go back. How do we ensure that we retain our intellect, and that's it through that critical thinking? So thank you so much for those for those wonderful insights. Thank you so much. And now to move to Kimi, would you like to add to that question, or to the answer to that question?
Thank you. I think one of the main risks is the blurring of the line between truth and fiction, with the deep fakes and the social manipulation that's going on. You know, we get misinformation so easily. People get their reputations damaged. Elections are influenced. You know, sometimes we don't know what to believe. Then there's the issue of the threat to us, that's security online. A lot of, I mean, a bit related to the deep faking thing as well. You know, there's people voice cloning, generating fake identities. There's the breach of the data privacy. We don't know what is being collected, who is collecting it. A lot of personal data is going out there. So we're concerned about surveillance, who is watching. Then there's also that danger of the autonomous weapons. There was a recent thing where AI took over some transportation. I think that was in Europe. And many people were affected. You know, my brother was in Spain at the time. He couldn't get into the metro, and he has a condition, and there were no lifts working. So that you don't know what's coming. Nothing is working. Then there's also the over-reliance on AI. I know, I'm in a group that discusses a lot about the issue of AI. And recently somebody posted something about the suicide rates going up, depression going up, because people are discussing their problems with AI instead of with fellow human beings. And the AI typically will pander to what you're asking. So how to kill myself, AI will tell you how. So there's that as well, that there's an over-reliance on AI instead of reaching out to other human beings when you're in trouble. And then, of course, the last thing I will mention is the impact on the environment. So the training of AI models is actually using a lot of energy, and it's also contributing to the environmental negative impact on the environment. So I think these are the issues. Closing thoughts. I think we have to acknowledge that there are great opportunities, that we're doing a lot with tech, with AI, and we can do a lot more. At the same time, we need to admit that it's a very risky terrain, and therefore we all have to, like I said earlier, go forward courageously, but aware, and trying constantly to raise awareness and carry everybody along so that we act responsibly and we help other people to also act responsibly. That's it. Thank you all for being here for the webinar. And see you in Mauritius.
Thank you so much, Prof. Kimi. And I really like the fact that you were talking about that blurring the line between truth and fiction. I think that's a huge risk. And unfortunately, we don't have time to go into it, but I would have loved to have explored more around that mental health that Prof. Maury has been focusing on, and you brought up the environmental concerns. I think that we need more time on those discussions. Thank you. Dr. Suraj, closing thoughts?
Okay, so I think Kemi has really summarized well, many of the challenges, energy, definitely deep fakes and so on, over-reliance on AI. The closing remarks, just to be quite quick, the technology is moving so fast, and governance is really going to be a huge challenge, but it's really something which, we need to be talking about it right now. And it's going to involve some really deep discussions between different spheres of society, not only regulators, but also technology developers, also the consumers, and so on. Okay, so I think you said it at the beginning. I think at this point in time we have more questions rather than answers, but this is where we should be trying to go in the coming, months and years, in order to be able to, get some kind of AI system which is like friendly and not a foe. So I would welcome you to Mauritius, everyone, and again, would like to see you all here in some months. So that's it.
Thank you so much. And with that, I would like to thank our panelists for the insights and perspectives. It's been a wonderful conversation, and for everyone online, for your comments and your engagement online. It's greatly appreciated. And just to say thank you so much to Carolyn again, and the Good Governance Academy for allowing us this opportunity to have this conversation. Carolyn, would you like to?
Absolutely. Thank you, Brian. Thank you. And also thank you, Brian, for allowing a Good Governance Academy to partner with Ben Africa. This is the first in our really explicit partnership, explicit recognition of our partnership. So to have these 3 webinars with Ben Africa and just be exposed to all the different thought leaders that you are exposed to, and to have these 3 speakers online, it's just been absolutely amazing. So thank you very much, everyone. Thank you to the panelists. Thank you. Wish you all the best in Mauritius. Hope you have a fabulous time, and we're looking forward to the outcomes from that from the conference. And thank you, everyone, for joining online. All of the summaries, the presentation, the video recording, all of that will be available on the this event page by the end of the day. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you, Caroline. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.